Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's most talented people, and we've got one for you today. Andrew Eastwood, how are you?
Hi, Alex. Nice to see you. I'm fine, thank you, yeah. Just warming up and getting ready for this show here. We are sitting in the dressing room at the Lyceum Sheffield, we should point out, and we're just working with Ken Dodd tonight.
It's amazing, isn't it? You've been working with him for over 10 years, and he has basically the pick of crop. I mean, he could have anybody on this show, and he chose you. Why you, then?
Well, he seems to pick me a lot. He's got quite a few acts he used, but as you said, I've done about 300 shows with him now, just over, I think. And I suppose it's because I'm a variety turn, and he is of the vaudeville world, and that's really the kind of entertainment I love. I'm passionate about it I'm passionate about doing it, and that's the kind of tradition I belong to, and there aren't many of us about, really.
How did you get into it? Because, I mean, you're a young fella, you're not 104. You're doing stuff that was way before you were born. How did this find you?
Yeah, that's true. There's not really a word in my act that couldn't have been done 40 years ago, but it was my granddad. My granddad started playing the ukulele to me when I was a little tiny tot. Way back, as far as I can remember. He was playing comedy songs, George Formby songs, and I was brought up with it. He was an entertainer himself, actually, semi-pro. He used to do farmyard impressions, not the noises, just the smells. But he was very good, and he brought me up on these silly old songs, and I've always done it. As soon as, actually, he died when I was 6, and just before he died, he bought me a very, very cheap ukulele, and that's where it comes from. And I've never done anything else. Never had a job. I've always done this. Well, we say that laughingly because it's a bit of a slog, as you know, but that's all I've ever done.
What I love about you, A, is the speed in which you get through your act. You don't let it get laborious. You're one of these turns that can do so much so quickly, and I admire you for that. The risk in that, though, is if anything goes wrong or the wrong thing's in the wrong place, it could all fall apart. I suppose at this point, you're just so comfortable on stage, you'll make it work.
The pace of it, a lot of that comes from working with Ken, actually, because he's, in the tradition of the old variety performers, he's helped me out a lot, with tips, how to edit the material. Because although his show is very long, as everyone knows, there's such a lot in it. He crams it in, He taught me that very early on, how to edit the material you use and keep it slick and pacey. And that's what variety was about. In those days, the great variety days, people do a 6-minute spot, and fit a lot into it. And so I do love that style of entertainment.
And again, it's from a tradition where you have to impress quickly, and that's what you do. You go on with incredible energy. I wonder how you do that on your 2 or 3 show days, which I know you regularly do, because you're booked up and down the country, travelling from one place to the next. Where do you find that energy to do it?
I don't know how we do that, performers. It's something to do with adrenaline, I suppose, but I'm sure you're the same. You just learn to turn it on like a switch and hopefully turn it off again at the end, But I don't know where it's just practice, I suppose. You get used to doing that. But that is hard work. It is hard work.
Is it tougher doing 15 minutes for Doddy where you've got to get it all in quick and then get off to allow him back on? Or is it better doing your own show, which obviously takes longer, but then there's more effort involved?
Well, it's different. I suppose it's like a sprinter or a marathon runner. You wouldn't really say one works harder than the other, but it's just a technique and a way of, going at it mentally. You've got to pace the impact you're making, pace the way that you're drawing the audience into it, the highs and lows of the act, and that takes a lot of thought on how you form your material. And but you see, he is the master of that, and you can watch him shape a show that lasts several hours with dips and drops and peaks, and he really shapes it in the way no one else does. So working with him, it's like a masterclass.
Yeah, it is. And a privilege as well. And I wonder how you feel walking on, because they've just seen an hour of him, then you've got to come on and do your bit and be equally as good, if not better, because they know who he is. They don't necessarily know who you are. Yeah. There's a pressure to that, isn't there?
The worst bit of that is that he won't let me go on and not do gags. He insists that I do funnies, and really you're on a highway to hell trying to be funny in the Ken Dodd show. But I do it and I get away with it, and he likes me to do these things, so he gives me little lines to do, and it's nice to have a challenge, isn't it, though? So I don't mind that. It's all good fun, and it's seat of the pants, but we love doing it.
And you have an incredible warmth about you on stage. That's what's great, is there is a magnetism between the audience and yourself. I feel that this was something you were born to do and feel like you're at home. There's no nerves. There appears to be no fear of the audience. You embrace them, don't you?
Well, I believe that is the most important thing for this style of entertainment, to project warmth. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're doing, how clever it might be for any kind of speciality act. I mean, you talk about jugglers or magicians or any kind of special act, not just musicians like me. But if they don't like you, they don't really give a damn what you can do. First and foremost, they have to like you. And that's why, I put a lot of effort into trying to just connect on that level, get the personality across. And then if they take to that, then they'll appreciate what I do. But if they don't like me, I'm sure they couldn't care less if I can play Flight of the Bumblebee on a kazoo. It's very, very important to get that personality across, and that's what the great variety stars really did well, and they are my heroes.
Let's talk about then the number of instruments you play, because you mentioned the kazoo, the ukulele. How many instruments are there in your act and that you can play?
Yeah, I shouldn't have mentioned that. I haven't put the kazoo in yet. But I do ukulele, banjo, guitar, violin, piano, sometimes a little bit of piano if I do a longer show. So it's really trying to just do such a variety that there's something in there for everyone. Hopefully.
Well, it's sort of variety / show off, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. You could say that, because I think a speciality act has to have a bit of a wow factor, and there has to be an element where they say, wow, how does he do that? I can't believe I'm seeing that. And that's how it works, and that's different than perhaps a comedian, because most comedians, now he's an exception because he's made it so, but most comedians, everyone thinks, well, he stands there and talks. So you've got to get to them in a different way. But with a speciality act, there is a visual element as much as anything else, and people say, wow, I can't believe what I'm watching.
Yeah. And it's so relatable with the tunes, and this audience particularly love it. I wonder about your life as an entertainer on the road, because you are constantly in work, and I wonder whether you realise how exceptional it is. It's a tough business to get booked, and you mostly are. Whenever I see you, you're always going somewhere else. Yeah. What's the reason that you're so busy and others are sat at home watching the telly?
I don't know exactly the answer to that. I don't think I've been ever blessed with such a great talent, except perhaps a will to work, and so that's certainly part of it. I'm a bit of a workaholic, but people have been telling me for years, why do you play this old-fashioned stuff? Why do you play old songs? There's no audience for that. It's dying out. Well, I do about 200 gigs a year, and I have done for the past sort of 15 years, and it doesn't look like slowing down, you see. And next year is piling in again. I'm already looking at the diary, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be so busy. How am I going to do this? So I think, niche partly because I don't follow the modern trends, and I don't jump on every bandwagon that comes along. I say, I like this style, I'm going to do that. And that's why I'm a bit different, you see. So, all these people who take a look at X Factor and think, oh, I'll do that, they've got no hope. You've got to take your own route, as I'm sure you know as well.
You mentioned X Factor there. I always think of Britain's Got Talent and you, because you'd either win it or you wouldn't even get through the first round. It's one of the reasons I'd never go on, partly because I'm ginger. It's a strange game, that Britain's Got Talent. Have you been asked to do it? Because a lot of entertainers have.
They asked me for the first series when it was new, a new format, of course, and we didn't know what it was going to be like, so we had to guess. I was in pantomime at the time, and I got a phone call asking me to go on. I sort of tried to suss out what it was, and they said it'll be a panel of pros judging it, but it will essentially be a televised audition. So I said no. I said, if you come up with a format where I can do my act, and you say do 4 minutes, do 10 minutes, whatever, I'll do it. But I can't go on TV doing an audition up against a 3-year-old kid with no front teeth singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It's just not. He's putting yourself into an amateur situation, really. Good as some of the people are, and some of them are, it's not the position a professional act should put themselves in. For someone who hasn't got any kind of work already, and who's just trying to have a go, and also hasn't got any material, if I went on there, you get 90 seconds. What can I do? I can't fit 4 or 5 instruments in. So I can't do the act I do.
But you never know, do you? Because I look at the Susan Boyles of the world and I think, sometimes there are anomalies like yourself with such a great act that you could be the one that people connect to, but equally you could be the one that they don't understand and just think strange.
But I feel that the format of the programme and the people who run it would not let me do my act as I know it works. So I just keep doing what I'm doing. And that's fine.
I think that's a really brave and smart thing to do. And what's also amazing about you're not doing crappy clubs up and down the country. You're doing some of the biggest, most brilliant venues. Is it still thrilling as we sit here today in the Lyceum, probably one of the most beautiful theatres in the country, and you can say you've played it, and then tomorrow you'll be at Blackpool and you can say you've played that, and last week you were here and there and Warner's. It must be great because so few people get that luxury.
Yeah, it's very, very true. And it's getting tighter and harder all the time for people to get into these venues. I'm very lucky to do these kind of places. I've played some of the finest theatres there are. I did London Coliseum this year. What a magical place to be. To say that I've done that. So I do feel very blessed to be doing that because a lot of people I know and good talented professionals are still working hotel ballrooms. To 20 odd people, and they deserve better. But the work isn't there.
Whenever I've seen your show, it's amazing how at the end you get this huge round of applause and they literally fall in love with you. And I do think that's probably the greatest talent of all, that you are so likeable and the reason that I think you're so busy.
Hopefully they seem to like what I do, so I'll keep on doing it.
And if people want to get in touch, how do they find you?
Pretty easy. You can always find me. Just put Andy Eastwood into the search engines. You'll find my website pretty easy. It's andyeastwood.com.
And as we sit here with my microphone on the desk, there's the script for pantomime. You're back doing that this year?
Oh, no, I'm not. Am I?
We're 100 miles from London and still no sign of Cinderella.
Yes, I better get learning that. We start rehearsing at the end of the week, and off I go to Bolton. It's hard work. It's very hard work, but it's nice. I don't mind doing a season. I've never minded doing a season because it lets you get stuck into it and get it right and learn it and develop it. And the audience is different every time, so that doesn't bother me.
Yeah. And of course, you're in the same bed for more than 2 nights on a trot, which must be very rare for you.
I can't even remember what it's like. I'm looking forward to that.
I guess that's the only downside to your life, isn't it? You're doing the biggest venues, you've got an amazing act, you're booked all over the country, but you've got to go to them, they're not coming to you.
Yeah, that's the phrase people use, living out of a suitcase. There's a lot of truth in that. You literally don't have time to unpack before you start packing it again, and that's the way it is these days.
Do you get Christmas Day off this year?
Yes.
Good for you. Hey, listen, Andy Eastwood is a top star. Put him into Google, and thank you so much. Good luck with the pantomime as well, and I'll see you next year.
Pleasure. Thanks, Alex. All the best.